Hello, this is Cryptolyze. I hope you are well. This Wednesday, October 4, 2023, it is with pleasure that we meet to talk about Cosmos and Atom. As usual, we will do it in two parts. A fundamental part, we are going to come back to what Cosmos is, the usefulness of Atom and Cosmos, and current events, because we still have current events. And then we will move into the technical part to project short, medium, long-term on purchase prices, sales prices. And it starts right away. Structurally, Cosmos is a level 1 blockchain. So classically, it is an infrastructure blockchain which aims to provide developers with the means to build decentralized applications. So that's the classic explanation, but Cosmos is much more than that. It's called the Cosmos SDK. It's the Cosmos Hub. This is the idea behind Cosmos, this notion of Internet of Blockchain. This is really the very concept of this blockchain and what results from it, because the Cosmos SDK, which is the Cosmos Development Kit, and one of the first which made it very easy to build your own blockchain yourself. So something that allowed the arrival of blockchains like Terra Luna, like that of Binance, the BNB chain, and based on the Cosmos SDK, because they made all their components available globally, everything that made a blockchain consensus, block management, transaction management, wallets, all that, they made everything available to those who wish to build a blockchain. And they also made available something called IBC, which is their interconnection protocol between the different blockchains. That is to say, all blockchains that are built by the Cosmos SDK can use IBC and therefore interface with all other blockchains that are around. It is this principle that we find a little better in this image, in which we will have the hubs, which are the Cosmos Hub, in which each of the zones will be a blockchain and which will interface with the hub, which itself will interface with a new blockchain, and so on. This makes it possible to manage interconnections and above all to have common liquidity and not have liquidity fractality. That is to say that each ecosystem can interface with another ecosystem very easily and in a directly managed way. The big advantage is that if we ever have a blockchain that is specialized, for example, to interface with Ethereum or BTC, the fact of being an IBC means that I can go through this blockchain to directly reach BTC and Ethereum. We are going to discuss it. It has changed a lot. It is evolving greatly. Next to Atom, it is a token which will serve as a transaction for the different transactions within Cosmos, and in which we will have a protocol which will also serve as governance for developments. We also have this token which is inflationary. We are careful. We have an inflation which oscillates between 12 minus 15%, in which it is imperative to stack these atoms in order to be able to possess, in fact, recover part of the stacking. Ideally on the Cosmos blockchain directly to be able to retrieve airdrops from other blockchains that revolve around it. It's a bit like this image where we see that we have the Cosmos Hub, which is very present here, and all the interconnections between all the different blockchains which revolve around this universe of Cosmos Web. And the IBC has had a lot of transformations. There is a lot of work at the IBC level really to create this notion of interoperability between the different blockchains. IBC was Cosmos's answer, but was little used. Now we have the notion of cross-chain settlement. That is to say, the fact of being able to directly validate interchain blocks. So that means that we can do shared security, we can send messages individuals without necessarily having to go through something else, something that is complicated. We directly have the IBC, which integrates these parts. And this mainly allows for a renewal at the level of Cosmos, and a renewal which is also felt because we have the IBC, which has been rebranded with a site dedicated to it, because it is really the heart really of the Cosmos ecosystem. It is interconnection, interoperability. And obviously the IBC is at the center of this part, and it must be emphasized. This is something that happened here because it's the last day here. It's October 4th. It's the last day of the Cosmos verse, which is what's happening in Istanbul, in which the entire Cosmos ecosystem comes together to be able to discuss. And that was the announcement, the big announcement, in which there were transformations at the level of the IBC. And in this case, this notion of wanting to promote IBC by promoting interprotocol. To give you an idea, we are going even further because the idea is to push the IBC outside of all those which are connected or developed on the Cosmos SDK and to go integrate it, for example, on Bitcoin or Ethereum. This is why we are now seeing transfers with NBTC, which represents BTC, which is wrapped in the Cosmos ecosystem, WSTETH, which is Ethereum on Lido, which itself is wrapped and deposited in the Cosmos SDK, and it is mainly thanks to the modifications of IBC, and I think that this will continue, and the IBC will really interface with the notion of RWA, therefore real-world asset, therefore the tokenization of assets in the real world through the IBC would precisely make it possible to have transfers which would be very fluid, and it is the narrative which is defending Cosmos. And I think that we risk having more news which will arrive with, in particular, not Cosmos 2, which was the failure of 2022, in any case, a massive rejection of 2022, but more this notion of the role of Cosmos in this IBC, and in particular the role of Atom in the IBC, and I think it should happen. We are going to attack the technical part, in which we have quite a few things to see. Here we have something classic with a structural accumulation of week off. Then we have a retest, a new accumulation, therefore a reaccumulation, reacceleration, and in which we have here a schematic which is a little particular with a first top which was carried out. Classic. We retrace with my second top, with here the second part of bull run. And what is really important is to see that at the level of this bull run, we had a second retest, which was late at the Atom level. That is to say that the bull run was over. We were in September 2021. At the time when all the rest of the market was pushing, Atom was in the process of retrace. And at the time when the rest of the market was retraced, Atom pushed. So we were really in a reverse cycle at that time, in which we had an ST which was carried out with a BCRST. Therefore, stopping the upward trend, we retrace, we will retest, and we sink in to make a sign of weakness, which is rather classic. Therefore, the jump, which mainly allows us to be able to accumulate a chest with a phase of lateralization, which allows us to accumulate a maximum before being able to start again on the rise. And what we expect is a UTAD, therefore new AT8th. So therefore, we do not forget. Two things at the level of atoms is that we have inflation, which is constant. Therefore, we have a downward pressure, which is constant. And inevitably, to alleviate this downward pressure, it is imperative to have utility behind it at the level of atoms, something which is being built at the network level, which is already present on the atom's utility, but which is being strengthened instead at the Cosmos SDK level. So we are going to look technically, here we are unfortunately not in something which is very bullish. We are in a dilution phase. We are in the process of going to retest the batch. So there the question is, we're going to ask ourselves, are we in an ST or is the ST there? This means that we are in the process of retesting the lower part. Is this a real retest or is it just a premise to prepare an STB? An STB, which is a secondary test phase B, which is in fact the liquidity intake of this zone. Do we find ourselves in this process to recover this liquidity? That is to say, break the $5 and then start to rise again and have a bullish pattern. In all cases, what is important is to have a bullish structure. Currently, this is not the case. We are in a form of lateralization. We can consider that we are a lower limit, an upper limit. What we're going to expect is to start again at a high point, but what we're also going to have to do is print a high higher than the previous one, make a lot higher than the previous one, and then break this rail again. There, we will have a setup to say, okay, well, at that moment, we are in the long term, something which structurally is bullish because we are weekly. And so we can say that we are in the process of a market shift. This is not the case. We are in a phase of lateralization, which is classic and which is also accentuated by the bear market. But this dilution specific to the Atom token is not the only one to be diluted. But in this case, it is something that has a huge impact. Besides, in terms of prospects for bullish acceleration, we could look for several things. Firstly, for me, going for $32 here, which is really the zone in which a lot of people are stuck between $32 and $25 overall, in which we really have a big lockup zone. So I think that there are a part of the people who will take their profit and a part who will reduce their exposure. To break even, to then be able to structure a bullish action, which would at the same time be logical with a wave 1, wave 2, and then prepare wave 3, wave 4, wave 5, to in fact make the fractality of this great wave 3 Elliotist to fetch the target $1.68 to $76 at the level of the Atom, namely that in this type of target, end of bull run, in which we have an ecosystem which benefited from the bull run, in which we had an injection of liquidity, we have a valuation of the Atom, the E. It is important to understand that we really need to have a valuation of the Atom, and this is the type of news that we will expect for the current 2024 ecosystem to have news and strength at the token level. I hope you liked this video. If so, don't forget to leave me a like and a comment. It always makes me very happy. And if you like this video, I'm sure you will appreciate the one I made on BNB, Binance's crypto. I'll put the link there. And we meet at 7 o'clock as usual for the daily.